let's keep it simple and actionable, okay? How do you do zone 2 conditioning and make it work? First thing you do is weigh yourself before you go to the gym. Get your weight in pounds and then divide it by 2.2 and that'll give you your weight in kilograms. Step 2, on your cardio/conditioning implement of choice, increase the intensity until you're at a point where it's really hard for you to talk. So back it up just a little bit. So now you can talk, but with some effort. yeah, you know? So you can hold a conversation, but the listener can tell that you're exercising. That is your fat max, your inflection point, and that is as good a proxy, according to the main researchers of the science of this, to determine whether or not you're at 2 millimoles of blood lactate. What does that mean? That is the point at which you have to switch from using fat as a fuel source to glycolysis, to stored glucose. Okay, so we determined where our inflection point is, right? We know what our weight in kilograms is. So now, when we're at that inflection point, look at the machine, step 3, look at the machine and see what that number is. Most of these machines, you can switch the display to show you watts. Some of them have METs too, don't worry about that. It's usually, like distance, calories, some have the heart rate thing, and then watts. And a lot of people are like, what's the watts for? And then they ignore it. Well, this is what it's for. I'm going to show you how to use it. So, you get your number. Let's say your number is 200, 300, 175, whatever the case may be. Get that number and divide it by your weight in kilograms, and that should give you a single digit integer. So something from 1 to 5. If that number is 3 or better, you're in a really good spot. Keep doing what you're doing, and maybe this is not a video for you. If that number is less than 3, then this video is for you. Is because if you're at a very low level of metabolic fitness, so your fat max is at like 1.5 or 1 watt per kilogram, what that means practically is that it only takes a very low amount of activity for you to be out of the fat burning zone. Like that fat burning zone chart that you see on the cardio machines, and it has like heart rates and stuff, that's it's not complete nonsense, but it's almost complete nonsense. This is a much better objective indicator of whether or not you're using fat as fuel. But that's the thing. If you're 1 watt per kilogram, so for instance, if you're 198 pounds, so 90 kilograms, right? Which is, a lot of American males anyway are around that size. If you're a 90 kilogram man and you're at 1 watt per kilogram, already like breathing heavy, and you're at your talk test limit, that's like mowing the lawn or bringing your groceries in when you have a long driveway and you have like a couple of bags, right? So you're basically doing like a light loaded carry. That's like that. So any amount of actual exercise, getting on a step mill, getting on a bike, pushing a sled, whatever the case may be, that's going to put you past your fat max. So you can only do that in glycolysis. Is it still good exercise? 100%. Are you still burning calories? 100%. But the training effect is different for you because you aren't fit enough to get the same training effect that a fitter person would get, which is that they can do a high degree of activity for a meaningful amount of time using fat as a fuel source. You can't do that until you get to a certain fitness level where there's a lot of activity underneath your fat max. There is kind of a minimum duration component required to get the most out of this kind of like moderate intensity zone 2 training. All right. You can't just do 10 minutes and get the maximum benefits from it. It's still better than nothing, right? But this method of training, because it is not as intense as sprinting, kind of requires a, from the research I've read and just kind of what I prefer to do, longer time domains. Not super long, but 45 plus minutes. 45 minutes to an hour seems to be around the sweet spot. As low as half an hour, but definitely not like 15, 20 minutes, is my recommendation. Try to get your day-to-day to 3 watts per kilogram by finding your fat max and doing something that keeps you there for about 45 minutes to an hour. And do that at a minimum 3 days a week, at a maximum every day. And then let me know in the comments after about 20, 24 weeks what that did to your body composition, your work capacity for your lifting or whatever other sport that you do. And more importantly, nothing has had as meaningful an impact on my health as this that I just described to you right now. So, particularly if you are exercising to improve your health, this might be a thing that you want to try out for a meaningful period of time. Stay in the fight.